Welcome on in, everyone, to Let's Talk Big 12. Today, we are going to be doing our Big 12 weekly recap, as well as kind of our power rankings split into tiers. Just some explanation of the power rankings that we're doing. These are split into tiers. They're not ordered within tiers. So, the order that they appear in the tier does not matter. It's all in the same tier. Also, we took record into account, but that wasn't the most important thing for us. This is more of a forward-thinking power ranking because everyone's schedule is, completely different. Some teams have had gauntlets. Some teams have had a much easier go of it. And so this is more of a forward-thinking power ranking where if everyone's schedules were equal, how would we expect their records to shake out, kind of. Let's start with Texas Tech in S tier, alone in S tier, which I think is completely fair. I think Texas Tech has looked like the best team in the conference by a pretty significant distance, I would say. 6-0, get the win 42-17 at Kansas State. Of course, Baron Morton has some kind of injury. Will Hammond comes in, maybe a bit of a slow start, but Hammond eventually picks it up. Tech pulls away 42-17. What are you guys' thoughts on Texas Tech in general and this game against Kansas?
Yeah, just Baron Morton, Will Hammond, doesn't even matter. Like, the defense is good enough. Kansas, they scored all 17 of their points in the second quarter, which is right after Will Hammond came in and he was struggling a little bit. But Texas Tech just absolutely put the clamps on him in the second half. 0 points scored for Kansas. Texas Tech with 21 in the second half with Will Hammond. Erasing any doubt that they might be more vulnerable with Will Hammond in.
Yeah, dude. Move overboard, Baron Morton. Will Hammond's the truth. I really like what I see from him, especially in the week previous again in versus Utah. But he just looked dynamic on the ground. We knew he could run, but he has a lively arm. Not the greatest game through the air for him against Kansas, but again, it's one of those things where when you're able to run all over a team, you do that, and Tech was just able to do whatever they wanted with Cameron Dickey and Will Hammond. Cameron Dickey 263 yards on the ground is just
21 carries. Yeah, I was about to shout that out. That was insane. 21 carries, 263 yards.
When you can do whatever you want on the ground, you're not going to throw the ball. But Will Hammond, he is capable, and I think Tech is dangerous, man, with or without Morton.
Yeah, let's move on to they go to ASU next week. Obviously, the big question for both teams is the health of their quarterbacks. Is Morton going to play? Is Levitt going to play? Regardless, I think this is Tech's game to lose. I think that their defense is good enough to shut down a maybe good but non-elite offense for Arizona State with Levitt. And if they run like they did today, they're just going to do what Utah did to Arizona State and run all over them. And so, I think Tech continues their dominance. I think they're going undefeated in the regular season. I'll put my stamp on that now. I think Tech destroys ASU next week.
Yeah, I've got Tech getting the win next week at ASU as well. I just think Arizona State struggled to stop the run against Utah. Tech's going to be able to run, I think, all over them.
Tech can score in any which way. In the air, on the ground, their offense is absolutely electric, and then the defense has been just as good or even better than their offense, and it just shows throughout the dominance of their schedule so far. I agree with Tanner. I'm going to piggyback off his take and say I do think they're going to go undefeated as well. I don't think there's a team that can touch Tech right now in the Big 12.
Yeah, and really, if you look at their schedule after ASU, it gets pretty light. Like, it's not bad at the end of the year. Like, I think that, I don't really see the loss, if I'm being real with you.
Hardest game probably at LaVell Edwards against BYU, but
no, they don't go to BYU. Goes to Tech.
Yeah,
I thought it was dang. Oh yeah, I see it now. Yeah, dang, that's gonna be
people are already calling it the Lubbock Massacre.
Yeah, I've heard that said.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Let's talk about Utah. Utah obviously destroyed Arizona 42-10. We have a more full reaction video to that one on the channel as well if you want to seek that out. But any additional quick thoughts on Utah versus Arizona State?
I would say just justifying Utah's ranking in the A tier here. They've looked dominant and they've literally blown the other team out every game except Texas Tech. And that was an extremely competitive game until 8 minutes in the fourth. And yes, obviously the last 8 minutes of the game count. I'm not trying to make the argument that they don't count because they do. But watching a game, there's a very different feel when a team is playing them extremely tight for most of the game. it was a pull away win, not a blowout win for Texas Tech. And so that bumps Utah up a little bit in my eyes as well, because so far they're the only team that's been competitive with Tech through 3 quarters. Like, just putting it bluntly. No other team has even looked like comparable. I mean, even Kansas, they got down quick. They were down like 18-0 immediately. Utah's the only team that actually has looked like they belong on the same field as Tech this year.
Yeah, and I think it just shows how dominant Tech is. I think the justification, like a healthy starting quarterback for Utah, they're a good team. It's pretty simple as that.
Utah,
they're able to.
You got anything else to say?
It's like they're able to score the ball now.
Utah next week, of course, going into the Holy War against BYU at LaVell Edwards Stadium, going on the road there. I mean, it's going to be a tough one. BYU 6-0. I think probably more of a product of schedule so far. They haven't really had many dominant wins over a team yet. I think Utah's going to win that one. I think they're going to be able to pretty much control the game. I think that the talent is just a little overwhelming for them. Rivalry games get a little funky, so I won't call it a blowout, but I will call it kind of a controlled win for Utah next week.
I mean, theoretically, BYU is pretty much the exact same as that ASU team that Utah just played, if you think about it. Like, they're actually extremely similarly built.
Yeah. No thoughts, Ethan?
No, I mean, I completely agree with everything you guys said. Like, it's not much to add. I think Utah has a good win against BYU at LaVell Edwards. Kind of sets the tone for a good season.
Okay, let's move on to Arizona State. Obviously, tough loss to Utah without Sam Levitt. The offense just couldn't get anything going. I think that had they had Levitt, I think they would have been able to put some points up on Utah. If Sims had been able to pass more effectively and maybe run a bit more effectively as well, which is basically Levitt, then I think they could have. I think they still would have lost, obviously, because Utah could have named their number on whatever they wanted to score, called off the dogs in the fourth quarter. Dampier didn't play. But yeah, I think Arizona State is still a really, really strong team, and they're firmly in second tier for me.
Yeah, see, I like keeping ASU in the second tier here. They have a chance to prove themselves next week. Even if they just play Tech very close, I think they've earned that spot in the A tier. I don't want to drop a team just because the quarterback was injured 1 week on the road in like extremely strange, stormy weather. Like, I need a little bit more than that, especially after good wins against TCU and Baylor. So I like ASU in the A tier here, even, notwithstanding what happened on Saturday.
Yeah, I think if there's a team that can recover from a bad loss, it is ASU. Kenny Dillingham is going to get this team right for Tech. I do think it's going to be a tough game, kind of just going on to the next game for Arizona. But it's going to be interesting if Levitt can play against Tech. I think they're going to be another team that can hang with Tech. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Tech will win that game. But Arizona State, I mean, if they can create some pressure on defense and be able to kind of withstand the pass rush of Tech, that, I mean, it'll be a good game.
Okay, let's move on to Cincinnati. Cincinnati, kind of a weird game. UCF at Cincinnati, they won 20-11. I think they got up 20-3, if I'm not mistaken. And then from there, they kind of coasted. I think that Cincinnati's really good. They proved that by kind of dominating Iowa State last week, which was not as close as the final score ended up being. I think they're firmly in A tier. I mean, they have some of the best wins, and I mean, they were they probably should have beaten Nebraska as well, who has turned out to be a really good Big Ten team as well.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I thought they honestly were better than Nebraska in their only loss. And I mean, a win over Kansas and Iowa State is more than I think what any team in the B tier has done. So that's why I've got them in A as well.
Yeah, Braden Sorsby looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. Probably have him at the second, third best behind Robertson and company. But I mean, he's looked really well. 14 touchdowns to an int, and only having 1 sack throughout the game, throughout the season is impressive. If they can keep him going, they're gonna be a fun team and good team to watch this year.
So they go to Oklahoma State next week, and I mean, sad times for Oklahoma State. I don't think that one will be competitive.
Yeah, it's a free win in my opinion.
Not much to add. It's going to be a tough season.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on into B tier, and just a disclaimer again, all these teams are not ordered in the tiers. The tiers are
Yeah,
it's not in
I think
order.
all of us agree TCU would be more near the bottom probably of B tier than the top.
Yeah.
If we were
yeah,
ordering,
totally
maybe
agree.
the last team.
Yeah, totally
so
agree.
just putting that out there.
Yeah, so TCU loses 28-41 versus Kansas State, which honestly, that even flatters TCU a little bit because they got like the really late touchdown. What do you guys think about TCU in this game?
Dude, it's kind of the same song, different day. Their offense is good. Josh Hoover can pass. They can't run the ball, and they can't play defense. So it's like they're a dangerous team, as in they can score, but they just have too many deficiencies to be in that A tier.
Yeah, I think they would struggle with any team above them pretty handily. I mean, Landon hit it right on the head with they just literally can only do one thing and they do it well. But if they can't do that one thing and they're in trouble. And I mean, Kansas State was able to create some turnovers and add some parity to that game, which kind of shows on the box score.
Yep. Okay. Looking forward for TCU. Next week they have Baylor coming to town, in which I think is really like quite a critical game, I think, for, both Big 12. Like this is kind of a loser leaves town match, if you feel me. Yeah, I honestly think that with the defensive struggles that both teams have showed, I expect this one to be played honestly maybe in the 40s, maybe in the 30s
agree
or
with you.
40s. I think I'm going to go TCU with the bounce back, just barely edging out Baylor.
I'm gonna go the opposite side of the coin. I think Baylor wants it more. Them being 2-1 in conference play versus TCU being 1-2. I feel like Baylor might be fighting for survival more than TCU here, but it's very close. I think Baylor does scrape by, but it's going to be a close game, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we can kind of continue this trend for Baylor as well. I mean, they had a bye last week, this week, so they won't be nothing to talk about really. But I agree. I do think Baylor is just the better team. I do like Sawyer Robinson quite a bit, and I think they're just a little bit more well-rounded defensively. I mean, their biggest thing for me is they can't. They just don't. Their defense is not very good at all, and so it's going to be interesting to see if TCU can be able to do much against them. Because if they can run the ball a little bit better than they have been throughout the season, I think TCU can get that win. But I think Baylor's offense is too high powered with the deficiencies on the TCU's defensive side of the ball that they're just going to be able to score at will.
Okay, yeah, we kind of covered Baylor a little bit there, I think, because Baylor had no game this week. They were on a bye. So let's move on to Arizona. Arizona, obviously, super tough, double overtime loss, kind of in rainy monsoon conditions against BYU. Some questionable officiating there, especially with, the spot of the Bear Bachmeier fumble at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Pretty tough one to lose for them.
Yeah, very brutal game. Like, they had opportunities to win that game, but I also think that they were shafted pretty unfairly as well by officiating. Like, I don't think anyone can really argue, like, literally misapplying a fumble rule that would have brought up like a critical fourth down. Like it, one could argue that lost you the game, not to mention two like relatively phantom pass interferences, both inside the 10-yard line. They had genuinely 12 tries from the 10-yard line. They had 12 downs, BYU to score, and they needed pretty much all of them, believe it or not. And they were able to get that win in double overtime, but crushing for Arizona here. They impressed me, though, with their play. I think they're a pretty good team.
Yeah, I think solidly beat here.
Yeah, I will say, just kick that field goal, man.
It's true. The game's over, yeah, if you take the points earlier in the game.
Yeah. Okay, next week they travel to Houston in a battle for kind of like who's real in the Big 12 almost. Because, I think Arizona, they've lost maybe their two most competitive games. 2 losses in conference. It's kind of tough to overcome that. But I think they're still a decent team. I think I'm going to go Arizona to beat Houston on the road here.
This one's tight, but I think I'm also going to go Arizona. I just like their offense significantly more than I like Houston's.
I think Willie Fritz is just a really good coach, and I think having them at home, getting Houston at home is going to be a tough ask for the Wildcats. I think the Cougars will win this battle.
I like it.
they'll have to they'll go 0-2 against the Cougars in the Big
It's
12,
tough.
which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to BYU. Obviously, very tight double overtime win over Arizona. Um, I think that, it's pretty obvious why they're ranked in this tier. Obviously they're the same tier zone as Arizona. They went to double overtime, beat Colorado a tier down by 3, won by 14 against West Virginia, who's in the bottom tier. I think the 6-0 is more of a product of schedule rather than like overall team talent, where like say they played ASU schedule where they played Utah, TCU, and Baylor, they'd probably have 3 losses at this point.
Agreed.
So I think BYU is like a solid but like kind of uninspiring team where like their offense is really kind of tough to watch for the most part. Defense is good, but I wouldn't say elite. And I think they're like solidly like B tier. Like they're a team that will be very competitive with those teams that are in that tier with them.
Yeah, 100% agreed. Just echoing everything you're saying. Arizona isn't exactly known for having, a great defense. Iowa State kind of took it to them. Bachmeier went 12 of 29, so well below 50%, 172 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions through the air. And then 51 rushes in this game. Bear Bachmeier with 22 carries. Pretty crazy. They're using that dude like crazy. 4 yards average, which isn't bad, but isn't great for a quarterback. LJ Martin with 25 carries, 6.5 yards average. So I think LJ Martin is probably the best player, I would say, on their team overall, just based on the running production. Too. But that's a bit concerning because outside of LJ Martin with 25 carries and Bear Bachmeier with 22, there's only 4 other rushes total. They don't have anyone else that runs the ball. So that's a little concerning from a stamina and injury standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, LJ Martin is definitely their engine. If he's going, the offense is going to be able to score some points. But the issue is, I mean, it's literally just LJ Martin. We talked a little bit about it when we talked about Utah, but the Utah BYU game next week is going to be interesting. And if Utah could slow down LJ Martin, I don't think BYU will be able to score. It's going to be an interesting game. Again, the Utah secondary showed out against ASU, and I think BYU is going to have a hard time being able to put up some points. And so I just don't know if they'll be able to withstand the beratement of power on the offensive and defensive line on Utah's, and they'll probably lose next week.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well. I just don't think they're going to be able to score on Utah because they really haven't played anyone whose defense is even close to Utah's, and they've already struggled to like break that 30-point mark.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be pretty surprised if they got above like 21 to 24 points against Utah. And I think Utah is going to be able to run and, kind of be able to do what they've done on offense. So yeah, I think this is going to be, I think everyone's expecting a close game. I just don't really see that. I kind of see a controlled game for Utah.
There's no bias whatsoever. I mean,
yeah, don't look at any of our background or surroundings.
Okay, let's move on to Kansas. Kansas, obviously, the loss to Texas Tech, 17-42. All their points, as Landon mentioned, in the second quarter. I mean, I don't want to judge them too harshly because I think Tech is kind of just a buzzsaw in the Big 12. I still think they're solidly in that middle tier of teams because the only teams they've lost to are Missouri, who I think is one of the best teams in the SEC, Texas Tech, who's the best team in the Big 12, and Cincinnati, who we have in A tier ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, honestly, their schedule's been brutal. Like, I think that, let's just go back to BYU. So they had BYU schedule. They're 6-0.
Easily, yeah.
I think they're solidly in this middle tier.
I mean, yeah, having two. The only concern with them is their 2 wins in the Big 12 are to some of the worst in the conference with the West Virginia UCFs. But I think their schedule definitely kind of eases up these next 2 weeks with the Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Arizona. So it'll be interesting kind of talking about how they're interesting. They have a bye next week, so they'll have a bye before that Kansas State game. So it'll be a nice rest before that big rivalry.
Yeah, just my quick thoughts on Kansas. I just like the veteran quarterback, Jalen Daniels. I like what they have at wide receiver. I like what they have at running back as well. I just think they're a well-rounded team with a good scheme. And that wins a lot of games.
Yeah, I think Kansas, let's move on to Kansas State now. I think Kansas State has impressed me with their fight. They started 1-3. They've kind of clawed their way back. I think it's been pretty impressive, and putting it on TCU, getting that win against them, I think that they firmly reestablished themselves in the middle tier. Like a terrible, like out of conference doesn't define a team. And like they've shown me that their talent has come back and that, they're not a contender for the Big 12. I think everyone agrees with that. But
Yeah,
I think that they are a decent team and not one that you can take lightly.
I agree. I mean, putting up 41 on TCU, beating them 41-28, that's impressive. That means something. Like this team has bounced back.
I mean, impressive 3 weeks for them. I mean, a good loss against Baylor on that game-winning field goal, and then a win against UCF, and then obviously this routing against TCU. Having that bye next week again for the preparation for that big rivalry against Kansas is going to help them kind of hopefully continue to figure out how their game plan and get Avery Johnson right after some sloppy play to start the year.
Okay, let's move on to Colorado. Colorado, huge upset win over Iowa State, who is dealing with quite a few injuries though, but still a great win. I think Colorado does have some stuff going for them. Salter, since the benching and then coming back, I think he's played pretty well. Their defense is better than I think I expected it to be. I think they're kind of in the tier where they're not like a gimme, but they're also not like a top contender for the conference. I mean, obviously. So,
Yeah,
I mean, impressive win for Colorado.
I see them the exact same way. Good win over Iowa State. They've played some teams close that we have in the tiers above them, namely BYU. Very close game with Colorado. So just everything you said, I agree with.
They kind of feel like a trap game team, or a team that's not going to really prepare for them. They're going to kind of look over them like, oh, they're not doing the best, but they're a team that you definitely want to take seriously. Like Tanner said, they're not upper echelon. I mean, they're firmly in the C tier, but they're definitely not a bad team. They definitely can win some games. Probably push for some bowl eligibility throughout the season.
Okay, moving on to Iowa State. I think this is one we all correctly predicted when they were 5-0 was a little bit of a paper tiger. Their results and like the eye test and the talent level just didn't match up with the record. They've definitely, I mean, they've fallen back to earth now, losing their last two. I do think that with the injuries, in addition to maybe not a ton of talent to begin with, they've kind of fallen down the ranks of the Big 12. And so I think that, solidly C tier, like I think that they're good enough to beat like teams in that tier and below them, but they're going to struggle with anyone above them as of this current moment.
Yeah, I've been shorting the Iowa State stock since week 0, truthfully. Every single week, I pretty much predicted them to lose. I was like, I know the losses are coming. This is not a team that's going to have less than, truthfully, 3 or 4 losses. Like, I know the losses are coming, and they've started happening.
Yeah, I mean, losing two NFL level wide receivers and then not replacing them with anything probably to similar talent is going to be a rough thing, and you kind of seen it the last few weeks. I don't know. It's a tough pill to swallow, but I don't think Iowa State will finish this season pretty strong. They got a two rough games at first BYU, Arizona State, then go to TCU at Kansas. It's like that 4 game stretch. That's some pretty dang good teams ahead of them. Firmly above them in our rankings, as you can see. But then obviously we'll go later on the season. But it's going to be a interesting game for them. See how they finish off.
Mm-hmm. Let's move into Houston. I think Houston is an interesting team because they're another one of these teams that they have a really good record, but I'm not sure that the actual team is at that level of play. I think their defense is pretty good. Like, I think that that's real. I think their offense, when they play good defenses, I think it's a little tough. 39-17 over Oklahoma State, solid win there. Oklahoma State, bottom of the conference, obviously. I expect Houston to be bowl eligible. Obviously, they're 5-1. I think they could probably win 7 or 8 games. I don't view them as a contender for the Big 12, though.
Yeah, I'm right there. The offense just isn't good enough for me to take them seriously as a Big 12 contender. And the only hard team they played, Texas Tech, they just kind of got walked all over.
Yeah, Steven is like similar to Utah in that instance. It's like their only loss is to a Texas Tech, but like the differences between like the quality of wins and how they've won the games is what separates like the big gap between like a team like Utah and a team like and those other teams ahead of them. It's just their wins, they're wins, but they're not very quality wins. I mean, a 27-24 win against an 0-7 Oregon State isn't a very good look. So they're just. I'm a lover of the Houston Cougars. I'm hoping they continue this good season. But they're kind of starting to get the harder chunk of their schedule here, especially after that Tech game, and it's going to be tough for them.
I do think that if there was a team to move up from C tier, it's probably Houston.
Agreed.
I think, yeah, they're probably the closest to being moved up to be, the middle tier of the Big 12 is just huge this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you said, this Arizona Houston game is going to be who's real. Like
who's real?
They'll probably just flip spots. Whoever wins this game.
Yeah, like if Houston beats Arizona, I'm willing to say, okay, they're
in
real.
the B,
like I
for
slept on
sure.
their offense, maybe. Yeah, they'll be in B for sure. Okay, let's talk about UCF. UCF lost to Cincinnati. They were down 20-3, ended up 20-11. Honestly, pretty good defense there. UCF, I think, is solid. I think Scott Frost is actually, it seems like he has something at UCF. I mean, they're better than I expected them to be, honestly,
Same.
just based on their talent level and like what they brought in the portal.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think they're solid, but I think they're showing, especially against Cincinnati, that they're not in that upper tier, like that B tier. They're a little bit lower still, being 3-3 overall as well.
Yeah, I don't have much to say against UCF. This is a team I don't think I've been able to really catch a game at all. And so, I mean, just as a quick little, like the box score, I'm like Taven Jackson. I mean, after getting him in, their team has looked better. But I mean, it's interesting. It's I don't have much to say against them. I mean, 3 bad losses though, back to back to back. I mean, next week is a good pick me up against a pretty bad West Virginia team.
I think they'll be able to win that.
Yeah, I do expect UCF to take care of West Virginia here.
I agree.
Okay, talk about our bottom 2 teams in D tier. Oklahoma State, not much going for them. 39-17 loss. Gundy's out. I think clearly that the rest of this year's it's not that important for them because they just need to find their head coach. Yeah, I mean they just need to find their head coach, and then try to salvage whatever they can, whatever good players on the team, and then use the portal to fix it.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, it sucks, man. Oklahoma State being bad is just never fun. I mean, it's always fun having a good Cowboy team, but it's just not the case this year.
Yeah. Cincinnati at Oklahoma next week. We all picked Cincinnati. I think that, as much as I would love for Oklahoma to get a win, I just don't see it in the cards.
Yep.
West Virginia, kind of similar thing. QB Markial out for the year. I think they are a little bit better than Oklahoma State. If I had to if I had to choose between them, I think they're on a bye this week, so no games this week. But next week, as we talked about, going to UCF, this is probably one of their only chances remaining to be able to get, conference wins. So I think they're going to be up for this one, especially after bye week. I still got UCF, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if Khalil Wilkins can run the ball as effectively he has been, I mean, it's going to be a game where, they definitely can beat UCF. I just don't see it happening, like we talked about with the UCF slightly.